It's the ongoing history of protest songs. Clap your hands and sing along. So this is CJ Baker, and every month I do a monthly recap of the notable protest music that was released. So I already posted the article on my website, my first of many shameless plugs, ongoing history of protestsongs.com. But just like I started a few months ago, this is my video version. So we're going to get right into it, and we're going to begin by discussing some notable protest songs. And the first song is Adjourn It, which features Serge Tankian and Roman Morello, and the song's by Tom Morello. So, of course, Tom Morello, guitarist of Rage Against the Machine. So he's definitely no stranger to protest music. And Serge Tankian, lead vocalist of System of a Down, is also no stranger to protest music. And then Roman Morello, he's Tom's son. He's 15 years old. And at that age, he's already a fairly accomplished guitarist, just like his father. So yeah, this song is a kick-ass rocker. And it has a really strong, powerful anti-racist and anti-fascist message. So the video also incorporates clips from the 1954 film Salt of the Earth, which is based on a true story of Mexican-American zinc miners who were battling against exploitative labor practices, along with experiencing oppression and racism. So this was considered one of the first independent films, and it was made by three blacklisted Hollywood directors and screenwriters. So the film was basically an act of resistance, just like the music of Morella and Tankian. So even in connection with that, Tom Morello made the following statement. He said, "At this historical juncture, every act of art is an act of resistance, a clarion call for justice in unjust times, inspired by the persecution of immigrants across the land and the heroic resistance to the rising tide of fascism. It's just about damn time to rock for freedom, justice, and equality." So the next song we're going to discuss is The Worst Among Us by Dead Pioneers featuring Jason Williamson. So this is the latest single from the upcoming album Reagan Burner, which will be out June 26th by the indigenous fronted spoken word punk band. And it also features vocals from Sleaford Mods, Jason Williamson. So the Dead Pioneers is a band that I featured a fair bit, both on my website. I've discussed them on a few of the videos I posted. So yeah, they quite often, the songs deal with indigenous issues. And considering this particular song, vocalist Greg Deal made the following statement. He said, "Colonialism, imperialism, theft, murdering, oppression, and death, all the things the song needs, capped off by the unmistakable cadence and voice of Jason Williamson." This song was an important one lyrically in presenting some personal experiences while acknowledging the more general grievances of colonialism and imperialism. The moment in the world's history is more poignant than most for a song like this, saying the things that need to be said on a political, social, and cultural level is widely important right now. And then also concerning being asked to contribute, Williamson also made the forward statement. Navalands, traditions or symbols with cunning chicanery or beady-eyed brute force, could I not be on a tune with lyrics like these? The Worst Among Us is the kind of song that revitalizes the idea of punk within the listener. wrapped up in some weird Cure Sisters of Mercy vibes to boot. Very honored to be included. The next song we're going to discuss is Won't Stand Down by Peter Gabriel. So this is the latest tune from Gabriel's forthcoming album, Oh I. So similar to his 2023 album, I.O., Gabriel is releasing a new album track each full moon and will be releasing both Bright Side and Dark Side mixes. So concerning this particular song, Gabriel made the following statement. It's really a song to encourage some sort of activism. And I think we need people who can nudge both us and our leaders and keep alive some basic values of justice, compassion, and democracy. A hope that can help us start envisioning a just, peaceful, and fairer world. So we're now going to discuss a few albums that were released. So the first album is Fenian by Kneecap. So this is by the provocative Irish hip-hop trio. And of course, they're no strangers to controversy and speaking out. And one of the members, Moshara, even was arrested and faced some legal charges based on some of his actions that took place at a concert. But he has since been cleared of those charges. So concerning the title of the album, Fenian were royals in Irish folklore, but later that term became a derogatory term. So the band was basically using that term like they were reclaiming it and they were using it to represent everyone who spoke truth to power. And then also concerning the album, the band stated it's a more sinister sound because these are sinister times, but also defiant and triumphant. And that's a pretty accurate statement of the songs on the album. It may be described as more sinister, and there's definitely a punky feel to a lot of the songs, but there's also that feeling of defiance and triumph. So that's clear on the album as well. So on my website, I previously featured album tracks Liar Tale, Smugglers and Scorers, and the title track. And the title track in particular really encompasses the spirit of that album, that triumphant, defiant spirit. And then also the band recently released a remix version of Smugglers and Scorers featuring Killer Mike. So the Killer Mike version does not appear on the album, but it's worth noting because it also has some strong verses from Killer Mike about systemic racism within the United States. And in some ways, they are definitely kindred spirits. So it would be cool if Kneecap ever did a full-on collaboration with Killer Mike, or even a full-on, even better, if they did a full-on collaboration with one of the Jewels. Like that would be totally awesome. So the next album we're going to discuss is In Times of Dragons by Tori Amos. So this is a concept album that's thematically built with each song built around the perspective of a different character. Like, for example, one of the characters is the daughter, which was introduced in the song Stronger Together. And appropriately, Amos's daughter, Tash, joined her vocals as well, singing as the daughter. So that was appropriate. But concerning this entire concept surrounding the album, Amos made the following statement. In Times of Dragons is a story that parables the current dangerous times we are in, where democracy itself is on the line. As I'm fleeing from the character that is my sadistic billionaire lizard demon husband, I came across people I've not been allowed to see in years, and they had not wanted to see me because of the relationship I found myself in. To avoid being captured and dragged back to the lizard demon's penthouse, I run to the deep south of the U.S. to throw him and his henchmen off my trail. So, yes, a very compelling concept that also resonates in the current political climate. So, the next album we're going to discuss is DO plus PE equals No Country for Old Men by John Densmore and Chuck D. So this is a collaborative album between John Densmore, the drummer of the Doors, and Chuck D of Public Enemy. So basically DO plus PE. I mean, it spells dope. So basically, because the songs are like dope, but also DO is obviously the Doors, and PE is Public Enemy. So John Densmore's propulsive beats well complements Chuck D's booming delivery. The thematic premise behind the album came from the Doors drummer John Densmore when he emailed Chuck D. So he basically made the statement to Chuck, everybody gets older, but not everybody gets older. And basically, the album is a concept album about aging and the generation gap. And it's appropriate when you consider the fact that Chuck D is 65 and John Densmore is 81. So, in a sense, both of them say, okay, we might be older now, but we still have something valuable to say. And in connection with that, they also released the video to the tune Every Tick, Tick, Tick. And the entire album obviously features insightful social commentary from Chuck D, but it's definitely the case on this song, which denounces ageism, sexism, and racism. And then the video also incorporates Chuck D's hand-drawn animation. So yeah, that's a powerful video in that regards as well. So the next album we're going to discuss is Wasteland Country by Moonwalker. And Moonwalker is an artist I featured a fair bit on my website as well, and even in some of my previous videos. Like, for example, his 2025 album, Is This the Word You Wanted, was one of my favorite protest albums of the year. And then one of his non-album singles, The List, was one of the top protest songs of the year, which I also recorded a video on, the top protest songs of 2025. So concerning his latest album by the socially conscious alt rocker, it's a concept album that discusses a fictional wasteland country that eerily mirrors Trump's America. So the things that are happening are very much relevant with what's going on right now. And also in connection with that, he's also released an accompanying short film which further articulates the concept. So it's also not only is it a compelling listen, but it's also a compelling watch as well. So basically, it's almost like I said like short film, but it's almost like a music video for the entire album. But yeah, it's a very powerful work of art. So the next album we're going to discuss is Dancing on the Wall by Muna. So this is the latest album by the alt pop trio. And then basically on the album's Bandcamp page, they made the following statement that the album channels the anxious, uncertain energy of living in a Los Angeles defined by political tension, environmental decay, and the quiet pressures of millennial precarity. And then the album also includes the song Big Stick, which the band refers to as the most overtly political song. And originally, they released the song as a fundraising single for the Gaza Mutual Aid Project, Power Humanity. But the song includes the pointed lyrics: we give weapons to dictators in apartheid states. We give kids in Palestine PTSD. But we'll never fucking ever give them something to eat. And if you got a problem with it, you could end up in jail. Send you to Louisiana, $1 million bail. So yes, powerful song and a powerful album that definitely resonates. So the next album we're going to discuss is The Monsters They Made by Norman Sod. So this is a 14-track mixtape by the indie DIY rapper and multi-instrumentalist. So it has received a digital release, but Sod has mentioned that he does plan, because initially he was going to wait to release it. So there's going to be a wider rollout in the future, but he felt the need to share this with the individuals that supported him. So basically, the album blends the personal with the political, and it examines the environment that contributed to both his development as a person and a performer. So the album includes insightful social commentary on issues such as systemic racism, political pandering, income inequality, and climate change. So yeah, I really enjoyed this album. Very insightful. And Norman Sod, he definitely has a good lyrical flow. So the next album we're going to discuss is American Stories by Rostrum. So he's a former and founding member of the indie pop band Vampire Weekend. And on this album, he chooses to tap into his Iranian heritage. So concerning this, Rostrum, he made the following statement: pushing the most Iranian elements right off with the most American ones brought me a certain kind of joy. So yeah, it includes traditional Iranian and Persian traditional musical elements, but it also includes some very Americana musical elements too. And in light of what's going on right now with the current war in Iran, it almost becomes a political statement by default, the fact that he's embracing both his Iranian and American roots. And then also, the album features the gorgeous closing track, The Raid, which was written in support of the Free Palestine student protest. So yeah, that's a powerful song as well. So the next album we're going to discuss is We Were Made for These Times by the Kesmatics. So this is the latest album by the veteran Kesmer band. And Kesmer is basically a traditional European Jewish folk music. And then this album features lyrics in both English and Yiddish. And the band is basically had a long history of using their music to speak out in support of social justice issues. So in connection with that, the band did make the statement, rooted in immigrant experience and shared memory, the album speaks outward across cultures and generations, insisting on dignity, connection, and collective resilience. In a moment where questions of immigration, labor, and belonging once again dominate public life, Kesmer's historic role as music of the marginalized feels not archival but urgent. We were made for these times, treats tradition not as preservation but as action. Music that remembers where it comes from while speaking directly to the present. So yes, the band does effectively accomplish that. They tap into those past traditions while also being currently relevant. And even in connection with that, the album also features a cover of Woody Guthrie's Deporte. So the final album we're going to discuss, which is going to change the mood a bit, it's Live from Alligator Alcatraz by Robbie Roadsteamer. So Robbie Roadsteamer, he has been spending the last couple of years showing up at ICE and mega protest rallies dressed as a giraffe and singing satirical protest songs. And he's also been arrested 3 times. So yeah, this album is a collection of songs that he sang at those protests using humor as a weapon. So basically, I said satirical, but you could also say parodies, like the parodies of well-known tunes. Like, for example, the opening track, Jeffrey Epstein Played, is a parody of YMCA. So yeah, it's irrelevant, but it also makes a powerful point in this moment that we're in as well. So that concludes our video. Any notable protest songs or albums that you're aware of that you would want to mention in the comments? Feel free to do so. And also on my website, Ongoing History of Protest Songs, there is the expanded article that this video is based on, so you can check that out as well. And if you want me to keep making these videos, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe.